people getting compensated or paying other people to raise money for them.
Oh, wow. What is the biggest mistakes you see syndicators make coming into your office? What is something you catch? Is there something maybe at the business plan level?
The biggest mistake, I think the biggest mistake syndicators in general make is that they don't realize what they're doing is selling securities, especially first-timers. First-time investors just don't understand. They're like, why do I have to worry? What it means securities? I'm buying a fourplex and I want to raise $100,000 from my buddies. Like, why is the SEC even involved, right? And so they just fail to see that it's anytime you look, my definition is anytime you take money from investors where the returns are generated by your efforts, you're dealing with a security. If your investors are passive and you're active, you're generating the return, it's a security. And I don't care if there's 3 people, 4 people, it's $50,000 or whatever. So that's probably, and then the more seasoned syndicators, the mistake they make is they think that they can outsmart or get creative where like, well, if I structure it a certain way, then I get to avoid the securities law. So for example, if I structure it as a tenant in common arrangement where everybody has direct title to the property, or a profit sharing agreement, or a joint venture arrangement, that somehow that, alleviates my need to comply with securities law, or it's a note, that's another one, like, it's not a security because it's a note. These are all securities. The structure itself doesn't matter. It really just depends on who's generating the returns. If you're the one generating and your investors are simply writing you a check and going home, that's a security. That's probably the biggest mistake. And then the ones that I think we've talked a little bit about, the most common other mistakes I see are by far the advertising on 506B deals on social media. That's probably if not the biggest, probably one of the biggest. And then the third one, which we haven't talked about too much, is just people getting compensated or paying other people to raise money for them. Without being a broker dealer. So it's not uncommon, shockingly, that people will reach out and say, hey, if you can raise $1 million for me, I'll give you X percent of my GP, and it's a sliding scale. The more money you raise, the more GP you get. The less money you raise, the less GP you get. It's all contingent on how much you raise, and that's all broker dealer activity. And obviously they don't have that broker dealer license, and so now they're practicing without a license, which for my clients creates a problem because we're not disclosing that, right? Why would you disclose that you're paying somebody illegally or paying somebody that's not licensed? So you don't disclose that, so it's a failure to disclose. And on the flip side, the person receiving the compensation, they're practicing without a license, so they typically will get disgorged, meaning they'll have to return whatever commissions they got plus interest and whatever else happens to them. But I'm less worried about them. I represent the sponsors, the issuer, and that's the concern there, is that you are engaged in an illegal offering because you failed to disclose material facts. And now essentially my clients would be guaranteeing investors returns because they're going to be on the hook for any losses because they didn't comply with the securities laws.
Oh, wow. Jeez. Okay. Well, I guess this ties into the best advice you've sat with someone and given, or you've received in the other seat, yourself being a real estate syndicator. What do you think that would be, or what comes top of mind, would you say?
I think the one that comes top of mind, if it's the one that just, you put me on the spot, the one that comes back in my